Harrison Price for Friday, September 19th, 2025, a presentation of Bet365. And we're coming to you from Yellow Dog Brewing, downtown Penticton, the corner of Winnipeg Street and Estabrook Avenue, our sort of home away from home in September. Blake, delighted to be here for Vancouver Canucks training camp. And our first time here at Yellow Dog, we typically do the show just down the street at neighborhood downtown Penticton. Usually, of course, from the historic Wall Center and our Pacific Toyota dealer studio built by Arbor Lee. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Matt Sakaris alongside Blake Price, four-time Juno Award winner Mike Rogerson, hitting switches and conducting. We've got a big show planned for you on what is the beginning of a new campaign for your Vancouver Canucks, and Blake will get into it here in a little bit, but wow, the vibes, the atmosphere, the climate, the ambience, like all of it seems so happy and so positive based on the way last season.
And let me ask you this.
Couldn't come soon enough.
Let me ask you this. Would it feel as cleansing, as much of a season of renewal as I think we are feeling that? Would it feel the same way? It's an interesting twist here that we haven't brought up. If Rick Tocchet was back.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Like, it would seem more like there's maybe a coach with his back against the wall.
Right.
A coach that needs to find a different way to access Elias Pettersson.
Exactly.
All this. Now, you're just starting clean. Even though Foote was here last year, it feels like a clean start in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Where I don't know that you would have had that. And I think by all means, most people in that moment were saying, no, bring back Rick Tocchet. Like, I don't think anybody was pushing Rick Tocchet out.
Ditto here, yeah.
So
no, it's a fantastic point, Blake. I hadn't actually considered that, and yet they sort of have the best of both worlds.
That's
a
right.
head coach who understands everything that went wrong last season.
That went wrong and well.
And understands everything that has to change, and with the ability to communicate that in a new leadership environment. Let's start with our Redwoods Golf Course poll question. Are you confident in an Elias Pettersson revenge tour? You can vote yes, you can vote no. Do so at the Sakaris and Price X and YouTube channels. First word.
And I wish we could sort of get like a multi-spectrum opinion on when you will be confident too. To me, that's as intriguing as like what bar needs to be cleared if you're a no to make it a yes.
Well, I think there's a lot of believe it when I see it. And I
yes.
can certainly understand that opinion from Canucks fans who watched this player struggle mightily over the last season and a half. So I get that there were, look, we know Canucks fans to begin with, right? Like a once bitten, twice shy lot with everything this franchise has put them through over the years. So I can understand a no vote. I'm voting yes. I'm voting yes in part because of the added strength, the 13 extra pounds that Elias Pettersson put on this summer training. I'm betting that that's going to lead to him being a little more explosive. I'm betting that that's going to lead to him being stronger on pucks, stronger on his feet. And look, we know he is not the most comfortable in large media scrums. That's not his favorite setting. But I do think the choice of words matter, and I've liked what I've heard from Elias Pettersson in the early going here, just a couple of days into camp. And you may remember at one point during the summer, Elias did some media back home in Sweden, and Swedish language, so it doesn't translate perfectly. But he used a word that effectively means revenge. And so yesterday he was asked, why he chose those words, why he talked about vengeance in that Swedish media tour. And here's what Mr. Patterson had to say.
And I've said some stuff in Swedish. Obviously I'm not happy with how last year was. That's in the past. I just want to get back to myself and be the player I know I can be. And what I can do is only focus on the day that's ahead.
And want is great.
Yeah.
I want to be the person, but you have to do it, and that's why my answer technically will be no for the poll question because, but I'll be very fair about it. Like my bar is kind of low, if not on the ground here. Just show me something. I don't need counting stats even, whether it's preseason or in the first week, first few games of the regular season. Just show me that person that he's talking about, that you, Elias, are talking about. Show me that player.
Yeah. I like that he acknowledged last season going poorly. I like that he took
He's done it a few
ownership,
times. Yeah, sure.
of that. I also like how he pivoted quickly to, I'm not looking back, I got to look forward. There's nothing you can do about season 24-25. It was a write-off for Elias Pettersson, and it wound up being a write-off for the Vancouver Canucks.
And I think a long off season is the old absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think that was good. A long off season to put that in the rearview mirror and heal the damage that was done in the room and to oneself. And so I think you have to buy that they feel lighter as they arrive here.
Blake and I had an on-course playing lesson at the Redwoods Golf Course on Tuesday, and I was struck by the pro Craig, and just there are things that your golfing brain knows that aren't always front of mind. And as we went around the course and played with him and he gave us advice and tips, that was what struck me. Like, I know some of these things. I just don't have them front of mind. The scrambled golfer brain thinking about so many things. Bottom line, go get your help. Go get some help as well from Craig and the fantastic
good golfers get lessons too, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Private and semi-private junior lessons for your kids age 6 to 16, available, flexible to your schedule. We'll be telling you about some of the winter lessons that are coming up soon because, of course, they have the covered and heated driving range, the fantastic practice facility. Go to redwoods-golf.com/instruction. Time now for our top story, brought to you by Yellow Dog Brewing, Neighborhood Brewing, Foolish Winery, Vibes. The feeling around this Canucks team so far, one of relief that last season is over, anticipation for the new calendar to come. It's like the burden of that season from hell has been lifted, and everybody is looking through the windshield and not into the rearview mirror. We're hearing that from Elias Pettersson. We're hearing that from the captain, Quinn Hughes, from the absolutely giddy and healthy Thatcher Demko. We'll hear from him in a moment. And from the rookie head coach, Adam Foote, who seems to have done some introspection on last season, decided he's going to take a player-friendly approach here, building them up, consulting them on different decisions, giving them the clean sheet they all need after many fell way short of expectations in 24-25.
And I think that he now has the license a little bit to stay with that even after if they have some early tough results. I think he can remain Camp Good Times for a bit, but you just hope that he's not forced to have that stiff upper lip for too long. Like eventually you hope that those results come, and at least this team is middling for a while. Like, I don't think anyone's predicting doom and gloom, but you don't want any prolonged struggles off the bat. And so you hope that he gets rewarded, that his team is able to perform for him and keep themselves in the mix. And that's the best thing they can do.
Well, let me get one quick example here when we talk about Foote being player-friendly and consulting with his leadership group. Adam explained earlier in the week that he talked to the leadership group about whether they should even do a skate test, that it is something that weighs on the minds and stresses out hockey players in the summer. Oh, how am I going to perform in that skate test versus my peers? Well, the discussion happened. The leadership group decided, yes, we want to do a skate test, and yet Adam Foote decided that they would do this quietly before training camp so as not to have anyone suffer undue embarrassment with their performance. And he even reported that a couple of guys did very, very well, including Elias Pettersson. I mention that because, and Mike, if we can, I know I'm jumping ahead here, if you can just give me the graphic of Dylan Cousins of the Ottawa Senators. We know about the Travis Green skate test, Blake. We know how demanding that is. And here was the scene from Ottawa Senators training camp where Dylan Cousins, coming over from the Buffalo Sabres last year, that's the Ole Ulevi post.
You never go full Ole Ulevi.
And I like Travis a lot, and I can understand why he wants this test to continue. But that's a visual that I don't think anybody, certainly not Dylan Cousins, certainly not Ottawa Senators fans, and I don't even know why the club wants those sorts of visuals out there. I mean, Ulevi was haunted by that. The Vancouver Canucks were haunted by that. So I thought that was a wise bit of managing from Adam Foote to bring that leadership group in, discuss the skate test, and then hold it in the cover of privacy so as not to have anybody looking like that as one of your initial first impressions of the team in this new season.
Yeah, as media, we're conditioned to say, hey, transparency, we want to see everything. But, every other sport is very protective of what you even see in training and practice. So if they want to do testing behind closed doors, I get it. And you're right. It avoids the scandalous stuff because then they can just go and work with that player individually and say, listen, we need to get this up to speed.
And you wonder, like, okay, how does the Dylan Cousins-Travis Green relationship go from there, right? Like, because Dylan Cousins might be a little bit sore about all this. Anyways, that's their business. We deal with the Vancouver Canucks. And I got to say, Blake, the more I looked at the Canucks over the last couple of weeks, because, now I'm poking around rosters, line combination, all that. The more I looked at them, the more I considered the division and the conference, the more I felt myself leading towards another playoff miss because just so much has to go right. And yet the more I've learned about Adam Foote and the more I've heard from these players, maybe I'm fooling myself, but I feel my optimism swelling about their chances this season.
Yeah, I was always pretty optimistic that they could find the extra 6 points. Mm-hmm. Again, it's
not a huge bar point-wise.
Yeah. Now, they are a different team than they were for the first half of last season. There's no, they had JT Miller for 60 games. They don't have that. So it's difficult to just say, add 3 wins and there you are. There's a little bit more projection needed than just that. But I still think that they are capable of that for sure. Mm-hmm. I think it's health dependent, honestly. I think it's a good enough team when healthy. Man games is going to be a big stat for the Vancouver Canucks. I think when healthy, yes, they can perform, particularly in goal. Like if you told me that there's minimal, like the longest either goalie's out for is 8 days with a tweak of something, then I'm feeling very confident about the Vancouver Canucks making the playoffs.
Well, you mentioned goalies. Let's hear from one. Here's Thatcher Demko on leaving last season behind.
Yeah, I mean, last year, obviously, we had some adversity as a team, and then, I didn't really feel like I helped out too much. So I feel like I am a guy that can be a leader on this team, not just through my play, but a little bit more involved in the room. So I'm excited to kind of step up in those facets, and I think there's just a fresh breath of air in the room this year. Obviously, we weren't really, set up to succeed with some of the things that were going on last year, and I think it's a testament to the belief in our group, having myself and Brock and Garley all commit to the group, and I think that everyone in there believes that we can get back to the team that we were 2 years ago.
So good words from Thatcher Demko there, including wanting to be a stronger voice leadership-wise in the room. We discussed Thatcher at length yesterday in terms of just how he seems in a much, much better place, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, than he was, well, really at any point last year. It was such a difficult season for him on the physical side. It was a difficult summer for him, and he never really got in gear and showed us the guy who, of course, finished as runner-up for the Vezina Trophy to the league's top goaltender the previous season. And yet, what Thatcher was talking about is sort of the message that you're getting from a lot of these holdover Canucks from last season. And I can't help but be struck by the fact that everyone just seems to be so relieved, unburdened, that they got to this day and can now start talking about practices and scrimmages and preseason games and the start of the regular season and everything that is germane to this current campaign and not what happened last year.
Hey, making things right is a great motivator from one season to the next, as long as you have the minimum skill required to, of course, get yourself to the playoffs. As long as you are a reasonably good team anyhow. And again, I think when fully healthy, yeah, it is a reasonably good team. We know they're not going to lead the league in goals, but, I think defense can help offensively. And with good defending and good goaltending, they could have a decent amount of success here.
Do you want to tell them about Dogtoberfest? Do you want to tell them about something else that's going on at Yellow Dog?
Mike should weigh in on Dogtoberfest. He had I saw he ordered the German pretzel last night.
Yes.
That was his dinner. He had a pretzel for dinner.
Well, but in fairness, there was like sausage in the gaps of the pretzel. It was
I
more
missed
than
that.
just a pretzel.
I missed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just don't do no normal pretzel here. You're getting the bougie deluxe pretzel.
So Dogtoberfest started yesterday. We got it in on the ground floor. It was day one. Goes till October 17th. Both Port Moody and Penticton are celebrating Dogtoberfest. So make sure you show up for the vibes, of course, but also the fabulous menu and the fabulous beer. German-inspired brews. There's going to be a Stein holding competition. I need to.
How many steins can you hold? You know, you get the scene of the servers with like 15, 20 steins of beer walking through the beer hall.
I hope
in
they're
Munich.
plastic steins. That sounds like a very
messy
competition otherwise. There's costume contests as well. Bring out your lederhosen. Dogtoberfest is here at Yellow Dog.
I would pay so much to see you in lederhosen in one of those like little alpine hats with the feather in it.
I will say it now.
I think you would make a very good.
If Thomas Mueller wins the Whitecaps MLS Cup,
okay,
I will do a week's worth of shows in lederhosen. That's the gauntlet I'm willing to throw down.
Do we need a week?
You don't want the week.
Is one day enough?
You don't want the week.
Is one day enough?
Okay, I'll do a day.
We'll put that to the people, see what they have to say. Look, the other thing I found myself thinking about as we drove up here yesterday, there are so many X factors with the Vancouver Canucks this season. You could pinpoint Petey's bounce back. You could pinpoint Thatcher Demko's health. If that's too high up the food chain to be a quote-unquote X factor for you, Blake, then Evander Kane's arrival, of course, missed all of last regular season. Atu Ratu's development, we know how important he's going to be at the center ice position. But I think you could also make an excellent case for Philip Heedle. So much is riding on this guy's shoulders, and of course he looked really good after the trade from the New York Rangers last year in his early days as a Vancouver Canuck, but alas, then got hurt, suffered another concussion, missed the end of the season. He's going to have to play second-line minutes as things stand right now. He is going to have to contribute some scoring. We know he isn't the typical playmaker, so we'll see what kind of chemistry he's going to be able to develop with his line mates. And, of course, who is that? Is it Evander Kane? Is it Connor Garland? Does Jonathan Lecker-Mackey actually have a pathway to the winger job on the second line right out of camp? Yes.
Dylan in the YouTube chat. I'm slowly catching myself being excited for Heedle. He's sheepishly saying, we really don't know what he is capable of.
Well, he's got pace, and of course, the Canucks have not been the fastest team. He's got pace, and he's terrific at the zone entry.
He's a microcosm, though, of my bigger point of again, health, right? Like, I agree. If you could tell me that Philip Heedle plays 76 games this year, I would be very optimistic about what his bottom line is.
Quite optimistic, if that's the case.
But he needs to be there.
He needs to be healthy, and look, so many in the NHL, and particularly coaches, run away from any kind of discussion of concussions. It's almost a taboo. I absolutely was floored yesterday listening to Adam Foote talk about how the Vancouver Canucks have approached this issue of Philip Heedle, and it is really smart stuff. Here's Coach Foote on how they're going to manage Philip Heedle and his health.
Two good forward coaches to help him. I mean, it's funny you talk about his injury. We've discussed, we're studying him entering the neutral zone. What's his patterns? What's he doing? We want to be more of a team that try to fill those 3 lanes and enter at level and then always have that inside drive, which will stop a lot of the movement at the blue line, where I think maybe he's picked up some injuries as far as, the East-West game, where that's when you see an East-West game happen, that's where a D will jump up on him and catch him on a bobbling puck. So, like I said, we've got he's got so much skill, he can skate, but we're going to keep grinding on, how we're going to play as a group. Once he gets those landmarks, then that skill set will take over. He's a great kid. He loves to learn, and he's all for it. So I think I touched on both parts of your question.
And first of all, just from a basic human perspective of Philip Heedle off the ice, I think that's constructive. But I also think it sends an incredibly great message to a still relatively new Vancouver Canuck about, we understand this has been a problem. We're going to work with you. We're going to do everything in our power to help you avoid these sorts of hits that have caused concussions in the past. So,
and two different things.
That's really smart stuff.
Two different things were happening. Not only the analysis of where he was going and suffering these injuries, but also we know, of course, that Philip Heedle said that in the summer he was being extra proactive on, okay, what exactly is happening here? Because they were unclear as to whether or not it was concussion-related last year or whiplashy neck stuff last year as well. So he was getting to the bottom of what he could. Canucks were doing whatever. So everybody's pulled out all the stops here to make this Heedle thing work. Let's hope they get rewarded, both player and club.
Another item that caught our attention from Adam Foote was the penalty kill and Brock Boeser. And, of course, Adam Foote has been in charge of that Vancouver Canucks penalty kill since joining up as an assistant coach with Rick Tocchet coming on 3 years ago. It did excellent work last year. It got all the way up to number 3 in the National Hockey League, and that hadn't been the case for a unit that has really struggled for the Canucks. So we know it lost its top penalty killing forward in Pius Suter, now off to St. Louis after the free agent deal. They didn't necessarily bring in a forward replacement for Suter. The hope, of course, is that Atu Ratu in time is going to be a primary penalty killer. But Foote threw us a wrinkle yesterday when he brought up the name of Brock Boeser on the penalty kill. And I saw some on social getting the, Daniel and Henrik vibes from the Torts here, if you'll remember that when he was using them. But some of the things that Torts said back then about Hank and Danny as penalty killers, about just the intelligence that they have as hockey players, would be beneficial to the PK unit. And listen to Foote yesterday as he talks about penalty kill candidates, and he name checks number 6, Brock Boeser.
I think Boeser can kill. I think he's so smart that he could kill. Our kill was very detailed up ice. We knew when to strike. We knew when to back off. And in zone, he gets it. We'll see. We'll see how his minutes go, right? We got to manage his minutes when he's going to be on the number 1 power play, right? But you get a guy like Boeser, but you're going to see there are going to be a couple of young guys hopefully crack that team, right? And they can kill. You got O'Connor. We're going to trying to think of the list. I've got my lists in my head, but Garley. I thought Garley was a great killer, and you know what? He was going over the boards in the World Championship. Dino was running that PK, and he had Garley over the boards first. And last year, I asked Tocchet if we could use him. He let us use him, and I thought he did a hell of a job, Garley, there. So we'll get the right spots, but again, your kill takes time, right? So it'd be disciplined at the start of the season, so we get some rhythm.
I sometimes think we focus on what Brock Boeser is not as opposed to what Brock Boeser is. No, he's not the fleetest of foot. No, he's not necessarily a playmaker and requires a center iceman to get him the puck. But he has always been a very intelligent hockey player. Mm-hmm. That's part of how he works offensively, and it's part of what has allowed him to graduate into being a forward who is used late in hockey games when they're nursing a 1-goal lead. So I got to admit, I was quite surprised to hear Foote say that. Does he have the lateral agility, mobility to be able to, those first couple of steps, Blake, get on out and cover what he needs to cover? I guess we're going to find that out because I suspect they'll try some of this in preseason. But on the surface, as a concept, I got time for this. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, and one thing we've never had to utter, I think, is Brock Boeser is getting too much ice time. So if you know, that's often the worry for the superstar player like an Elias Pettersson, who you know is going to be out there a lot. Oh my gosh, he added too many duties to him. Is that ice time going to creep up? We do not see a lot of 20-minute nights for Brock Boeser. So
nope.
He won't be on the first penalty killing unit anyhow. He will be 2 or 3. I think that's a duty that he's going to be able to juggle.
I think you're looking at Bluger and Sherwood. They're the 2 most used holdovers from last season. I think you're looking at Drew O'Connor. Connor Garland started killing penalties last year.
And then you experiment with the third pair.
Well, yeah, but you need that other center, right? So Ratu, Patterson, somebody of that group, I think, is going to be out there killing penalties as well. Okay. We saw all of you messaging us on this. There's a story from Courthouse News, an American outlet that covers trials, civil trials mostly, saying that the family of Paolo Aquilini is suing the rest of the family, alleging that the Paolo branch of the family was cut out of the trust of the family's late matriarch, Elisa, who passed away a decade ago, and further alleging an unnamed member of Paolo's family was subject to sexual abuse at the hands of an unnamed member of Roberto's family. These are all allegations. They have yet to be tested in court, and we have not yet heard from the branches of the Aquilini family being sued. But a messy matter, to say the least. I mean, we've come off a season of dressing room infighting, and now we hear of family ownership infighting within the Aquilini family. I wonder, how is this going to be received? Is Gary Bettman in the NHL head office going to offer anything on this proceeding? But B, and perhaps most importantly, how and does this and how would it impact the search for an investor to replace Paolo, who, of course, has resigned his position from the Canucks ownership group and is being bought out?
Well, I think it provides possible context to that move, right?
Yes.
These are not independent stories. That story,
one wouldn't think, right?
You would guess that one leads to the other if these allegations are indeed true. Well, even if the allegations are untrue, the feelings clearly are intertwined.
Yeah. Now, this is a civil proceeding. Look, this is not out of the ordinary for wealthy families. We have seen this with a lot of, in fact, Jim Rutherford would have seen this up close and personal with the Carmanos family, the former owner of the Carolina Hurricanes. As you remember, one of the sons wasn't speaking to the father, Peter Carmanos. The son filed a lawsuit. So you see this in wealthy families, but the other thing you typically see is wealthy families not allowing these sorts of things to go to full trials and all the dirty business is exposed as a matter of public record.
And Matt, is it a coincidence that this writ is filed now, September the 19th, leading to the NHL season around the corner?
Was it just filed recently?
You would think. These things get combed through. So, I mean, you get the feeling that was strategic on the filing part to put some pressure. And you're right. The fact that it gets to this point is surprising. But the fact that it may see the light of day in court would be very surprising.
And that's why I wonder about the NHL and Gary Bettman's reaction to this, because you certainly, if you're the league and Bettman, do not want to see a trial here where family business is being aired, dirty laundry is being aired day after day. So we will see where that goes. But look, we talked about how big a piece, how difficult it is to find a minority partner to buy a sports team, because typically the guys with this sort of wealth want to own the thing, want to make the decisions. They're accustomed to doing that with their regular businesses, and you're seeing some fissures here now, I think, in this Aquilini ownership of the Canucks. We'll see where that story goes. All right, we're going to welcome our host here, Mike Cogill, co-founder of Yellow Dog Tableside, in a moment. But first, let's get into our menu today. It is brought to you by Greta. set up the program. Greta, of course, a fantastic spot to catch all the games, home and away. You're a mere steps from the arena or the stadium. If you're planning a party, a private function, family reunion, maybe a team party, maybe a work event, fantastic space for you. Awesome menu of unpretentious street food, and of course, the arcade. The arcade encircles the bar. It has got a game for absolutely everyone. If you're a Pop-A-Shot or an air hockey person, or if you like to get in on the consoles, they're all there. Don't forget about bottomless wings, $25. For more info, to book your event, go to gretabar.com. Greta 50, West Cordova. Let the games begin. Jeff Patterson is going to join us from the South Okanagan Event Center here coming up. Jeff, of course, covering the Vancouver Canucks, reporting on them again this season, your trusted voice, and, of course, the host of RinkWide Vancouver, which is already off and running for season 25-26. So we'll talk about all the pertinent issues with Jeff, and also with Rob Williams, tableside, the national sports editor of the Daily Hive and Offside. Rob is making his first appearance in Penticton for a Canucks.
It's crazy.
I was
to
absolutely
think.
stunned to hear that. All
Yeah.
the years that we've had young stars here, a couple of training camps, and yet this is Rob's first taste of Penticton in September around a big Canucks event. Later in the program, we'll discuss our boys of summer, and yes, it is still summer. Vancouver Whitecaps FC has a big match tomorrow against Sporting KC, but they may have a bigger one on October 1st, at least when it comes to bragging rights or avoiding embarrassment. Vancouver FC is through to the Canadian final. We're getting our all-Vancouver derby for the Voyageurs Cup at BC Place on October 1st. We will, of course, talk BC Lions as they head into Calgary tonight. Big game against the Stampeders. Injury-riddled lineup, and a very I think it's a charming story, the Nathan Rourke, Vernon Adams story. I know last year there was people in the room that thought, oh, this is Vernon's team, and there's Nathan.
It was awkward.
But the two of them together have never been awkward. They have been great. Honestly, it's an example of how to be a good teammate, how to work well with others, even at the same position groups.
It made the execution of the game plan a little awkward and the execution of the lineup a little awkward, but they themselves have been stand-up humans throughout it.
They were shining stars, both of them. And you know what? A lot of that goes to the character of Vernon Adams. I mean, the guy's just a prince.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved dealing with him, loved his enthusiasm as a member of the Lions, and he's brought that to Calgary, and they're having a hell of a year, Blake. I mean, the Stampeders were really down, and you take a look at what's going. You looked at that crowd on opening night going, oof.
They might be coming down to earth, so the Lions might be getting them at the right time. We'll see.
Yeah, I think they were a little better earlier in the season. We will talk baseball, where the Seattle Mariners have a gigantic series coming up. I mean, no bones about it. This is one of the biggest regular season series the Seattle Mariners have ever played. We know their tortured history.
It's like a playoff series in and of itself.
It really is. You know? It really is. Atop the AL West with Houston. Of course, the Blue Jays are right in the thick of it as well, leaking a little bit of oil there. And then some other happenings. One we'll get into here with Mike, here in Penticton with the Vs. And then Canada and rugby, where our women are in a World Cup semifinal as we speak. They're
hanging tough.
They're hanging real good against New Zealand, who has won 5 of the last 6 World Cups. So a chance for a Canadian team to advance to a final here, play in a storied venue, and, of course, bring home a world championship. So looking forward to everything that's coming up on the program today. Let's get to our Bet365 bets of the day, Blake. And as you know, I took a future yesterday because I'm looking at the Seattle Mariners and thinking that could very easily be.
Did you make a Lion Stamps thing on 2
I
days
did.
ago?
Oh, sorry. My M's bet was 2 days ago. Yesterday I was laying 5 points with Calgary.
You were.
It's down to 4 points now.
I'm going to that game too today, and I'm going to take the over. I think with the injuries to the Lions, things get a little loose, and then they have to open things up offensively to accommodate for that. So I think there's going to be points going both directions. Hey, 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league as well. So I'm going to take the over. It's a lot, but I think they can do it. It's a CFL. Over 55.5.
I think the Houston Texans are a better football team than 0-2. And let's face it, they got to get to winning because we talked about the hole that 0-2 teams face in terms of playoffs and Super Bowl. 0-3, it only gets deeper. They're in Jacksonville. I'm still not convinced on the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a 1.5-point spread. I'm not going to take the points. I'm going to take Houston to win the game straight up at plus 110. This segment, a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game. Use the code NATION when doing so. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. In a moment here, we'll be joined live by Yellow Dog co-founder Mike Cogill.
Let's talk some beer.
Was that a fluke?
Yeah, good teaching.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's what everybody says.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fun.
It would almost like it's the club's fault.
Too bad.
No, how about the Redwoods? If you had a bad shot, it's the club's fault, not your fault.
Step, other hand.
So he's saying practice makes perfect. That was awesome, Craig. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it.
That was really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Harrison Price from Yellow Dog Penticton, the corner of Winnipeg and Estabrook, right downtown. And we're joined by, well, gentlemen we have on this program once a year here. Every year from his place, our host, Mike Cogill. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Highlight of my year and always.
Is it?
No, not really, but it's good.
We love what you've done with the place here in Penticton.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we. It's been a long time coming. We first took it over. We just brewed some beer here and stuff like that, and then in December we opened up the tasting room.
And you are a big-time sports fan. We know this.
Yes.
Neighborhood down the street has TVs up top in particular,
Yes.
but it wasn't sports bar-esque per se. This one,
You blew it out with TVs.
this
we heard you were
one
like,
feels sports bar-y.
Yeah, it's got to definitely vibe for sports. There
Yeah.
wasn't really a place in town for that sort of stuff, but we're going to do other things on the TVs too. Like trivia and
Yeah.
Bachelor finale and things
Oh,
like that.
really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Finale parties.
tell us the story of Yellow Dog, because, of course, many in the audience would know you from Port Moody in the tasting room you have there on Brewers Row. It's a fantastic story
Yep.
of a startup.
Yeah, we started Yellow Dog. We just passed away in September, so August was 11 years for Yellow Dog. My wife and I started Yellow Dog in Port Moody just because we moved there. We just had a kid. Yellow Dog is named after our first dog, Chase.
There he is up
yeah,
there.
He's up on the wall there.
Yeah.
He's on my shirt. The logo is actually like a picture we took of him and got converted into like a logo
Yeah.
from stuff
Oh,
like that. He's since passed, but my wife's incredibly passionate about animals, as I am, but she's more the leading the charge one there.
Yeah.
And that's how it came about. We started making some beer. We made some good beer, and people jumped on board, thankfully. And here we are. Now, 10 years later, 2 locations. We also have spirits now. Yeah, it's crazy.
Now, you've never been the brewmaster, though, have you?
No, when we
No.
initially talked, that was my idea. I'm like, I thought I could make the beer, and then I tried a few people's bottles of homebrew, and I'm like, this tastes like what I'm going to make. So I think we need to do something a little bit better than that. Yeah.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. There you
And
go.
so I changed course on that one.
So if we said go make us a vat, you would advise against that.
Well, I would
yourself.
advise against using the word vat. That doesn't sound very appetizing. But no, I would not be able to make it. I understand the process and what goes into it, and I've tried a lot of beer, so I can describe things, but the science of it's not my jam.
Okay.
I'm an idea guy.
Yes,
Yeah, right. And look, he's too humble to say it, but Blake, you and I have been coming to Penticton for an awfully long time, and when I think back to what Penticton looked like 15, 16
Oh my
years
gosh,
ago.
this block is
What
making it.
and what it looks like now, I mean, you guys between Neighborhood and Yellow Dog here have really helped revitalize the downtown
Absolutely.
and the community here. You
Yeah,
should be very
I've been
proud.
here six years now, and just to see the change and just the new things in town, it's awesome. And we play a small part of that for sure, but there's a lot of other things that happen. And so if you haven't been to Penticton in a while, it's a great place to come down. And
It
visit
really
for
is.
sure.
Yep. You didn't get Young Source this year, but you got training camp. Tell us what this means to the city.
Yeah, I think, this is a hockey town, right? And any big event, it's actually a town that's geared for big events, and so they do a good job of it. So having something of the prestigious like the Canucks is awesome. So there's so many Canucks fans here that maybe don't get to go see the games, and like they open the practices, they can go watch. Then they got the scrimmage, and it's a really cool event for Penticton, and people get really excited about it. And it's just good to advertise, like we just said, Penticton. People come to see this too, and it's good for that.
And the players love your spaces though too. They've been milling about.
Oh yeah, we see them. It's a small town, right? So you see them walking on the street. They're having coffee. Some people are yelling at them, some people aren't. But it's pretty respectful over there.
Good yelling.
Good yelling. Yeah, way to go.
Yeah.
Well, and I love how it sort of extends tourism season too.
Yeah,
beyond Labor Day.
it's beyond Labor Day, and September is always good. And the weather, like this year, has been phenomenal.
Oh
so it's like it's still like almost 30 degrees here today.
Yeah.
So that's nice for them, and everything's so easy for them to walk around and get to too. So
yeah. You mentioned Penticton is a hockey town, and of course home to the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. If you've never been in there at the South Okanagan Event Center, it is an incredible display, but the history goes much, much deeper than that. I was explaining to Mike as we were driving around town, here is the commemorative sculpture of the 1955 world champion Penticton V's, the senior men's team that represented Canada and brought home the gold medal. And today's a historic day for Penticton hockey because, of course, the V's are in Victoria playing their first ever WHL game.
Yeah,
what's your thought? What's the town like in terms of this big step up to the
Yeah,
town?
there's a lot of people excited, and I thought it was really weird when we talked about the dates when you guys were going to come, and I'm like, oh, that's actually the V's first game. That's pretty cool. There's a lot of people excited. The V's have always been good. They've been really good, done really well in the BCHL. I think this is just a natural evolution for them to step up in league and just take that level of hockey up a level. And it's pretty cool to see the family that owns the V's and stuff like that, just that commitment to make that investment into Penticton and bring it up a level. And I know the town's going to go pretty crazy for it.
Yeah, you guys have always been big supporters. You got the neighborhood section over there at the South Okanagan Event Center.
Yeah, we're going to start, we're just figuring out the details now, but there's like a trolley that goes for every V's game from neighborhood and Yellow Dog to go to the game.
No kidding. Good for you.
That's a great idea.
And things like that. So we're going to try to do whatever we want. There's going to be a pet night at the V's for Yellow Dog and stuff like that. So it's been pretty fun. Yeah,
and it's a week from today against their geographic rivals just across the lake here, the Kelowna Rockets. It's going to be a raucous environment. Great job on the WHL schedule maker, making sure Kelowna was the first.
I thought that was cool too.
Opponent in here. You mentioned pets. You've been huge supporters of the BC SPCA. We have talked about that in the past.
Yeah.
Make your pet a Yellow Dog Brewing star.
Yeah, this is my wife Melinda's pet project, and she does an amazing job of it. Where this is year 4, so after this year she's going to get close to raising almost $1 million for the SPCA. Wow. So it's not quite there, but it's a big amount of money. We're still in the final days. I think we got till end of day Sunday, like 6 p.m. Sunday is kind of the last of it. Currently, 2 cats are winning.
Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah, so out of the top 4, so the top 4 get in there. 2 cats. One's a one-eyed cat, and it's called like one-eyed cat or something like that. It's pretty Mr. One-Eye or something like that. There's a pig in the top 8.
A pig?
Yeah. So we are equal opportunity. It's not just dogs, so we'll let anyone go there. So it's
and of course the winner here, their Visage, the pet that is, goes on a can of Yellow Dog.
They always get there, and I always like the emails after. Like I need 200 of these beers for my friends and family. I'm like, well, you're going to drink them. Like you're not holding these things as mementos. I'm sure people do, but it's it's pretty awesome. We're big pet people, and to see people get that passionate for a good cause is nice.
And you can bring your dog here, right, to your dog park patio.
Yeah, so we have the dog park patio in the side there. It's totally dog friendly and everything like that. Unfortunately, Port Moody isn't, just because of where the patio is. We fought that fight, everyone. Just trust us. We fought it. But here you can, and it's pretty cool.
Had a smash burger last night. It was spectacular, so you got to try the menu of both locales too.
Thank you once again, Mike, for being such a fantastic host and supporter of Harrison Price.
Yes.
We so appreciate all of that, and looking forward to spending some more time here with you and your team.
Yeah, I look forward to beating you at golf later today. So.
Thank you.
And he does most each and every time. I am easy to. Well, Blake knows this. I am prone to noise. I don't do well with noise.
Yeah.
I tend to crumble under pressure. My kitchen doors are wide open. People step into it. Oftentimes, Mike, get under my skin. Just get in that head.
It's pretty easy.
No, I know.
I want to blow by blows. I'm driving down. I want to know hole by hole what's happening.
Or Blake.
Yeah.
Maybe I just let the.
I still remember that.
Just let the
you're going to let him win.
Maybe I just let the client win.
Well, I remember that one year we played at Ink Meep, and Todd's here, the pro over there, and. Blake, you hit the power line that's on the 18, and there's a
rule.
There's a rule on there that says it, and You thought you had him in that, didn't
I
work
just
out.
play by the
No,
rules.
know.
Right? I
was
just
going to
play
beat
by
him
the
on
rules.
18. He hit it wide in the power line. He got a do-over, some obscure rule that I'd never heard of until Todd Tweedy brought it up and was so sure of it. And sure enough, it's on the damn
He
card.
runs the course. Of course he knows
And
it.
then last year I played with Mike's business partner here, John, and I don't believe we won a hole.
No, Blake and I took you to school. on
I
that one.
think, and there weren't many tied holes either. I think we lost like 16 or
Okay,
17.
there you go, buddy.
No, so I have some making up to do on the golf course.
That's the next, broadcast live is the ride home after you lose.
throw on a spaces and commiserate. All right, Mike.
Thanks
for
again,
this.
Mike.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Jeff Patterson coming up next. Harrison Price here from Yellow Dog Penticton, trading in the historic Wall Center for the day, and joined by Jeff Patterson, Canucks reporter, host of RinkWide Vancouver from the South Okanagan Event Center, where day 2 of training camp is underway. Jeff, how are we?
Good, guys, and your setting looks great. Looks a little familiar too. Meet and greet there last night.
Yeah, good fun. You've been here before. You've done this before, but the vibes feel a little bit different from year to year. Although expectation a year ago was probably pretty decent as well.
Yeah, I think overall the Canucks were pretty happy with day 1 of training camp here. Now, most coaches would tell you that. I have people in my mentions, who stood out, who scored the highlight reel goals, who was the flashiest player. I can tell you that day 1 was not about that at all. And in fact, the column I wrote at Canucks Army was basically, this wasn't about standing out, it was about fitting in. And they did a lot of teaching. They drilled down on the basics of some of the systems that this new coaching staff, and it's not just Adam Foote, it is an entire new coaching staff, to the point Elias Pettersson was asked about getting to know some of the new assistants, and he said, yeah, I've said hi to a few of them. And then he said, I've forgotten a couple other names. So, there's learnings at all levels for everybody here early in training camp. But I will say this, that the pace was good. The investment from the players was what you wanted to see. Adam Foote singled out the leadership of Tyler Myers and Marcus Patterson in the early group. And then name-check Brock Boeser and Elias Pettersson as guys that he thought had pretty good first sessions. There were some issues with the ice, which is novel because it's such a terrific facility. And we haven't heard that in years gone by. And, of course, the Penticton V stepping up to the Western Hockey League this year. They get their season going next week. So I was a little surprised to hear and see that, the ice was a little bit of an issue for the second group of the day. But when you think of the wear and tear that 59, I think it is, of players that are on the roster here, put on a sheet of ice, you can sort of understand some of that. So all things considered, I think the hockey club was pretty pleased what it saw on the opening day, and now it's about building on that, and I think ramping things up, giving these players a little bit more to chew on. Rick Tocchet called them staples. There's some new terminology, but essentially that's what Adam Foote was trying to get through to his guys on the first day of camp.
We've been laughing, Blake and I, listening to Foote all week because he does the Rick Tocchet thing. I call them, and then fill in the word.
Gives us the glossary, if
I
you
call
will.
them numbers.
Yes.
I call them staples. Yeah.
Yeah, contract with the players. He dropped that one as well. So
very good.
You're right. They are cut from the same cloth, but slightly different terminology, but it all leads to the same thing, I think.
And yet his approach has been kind of the opposite of Tocchet here, Jeff. He has been so much love, so much support. He has been the seemingly so far the kind, nurturing parent, and I think it was, and I think it's brilliant. Coming off where they were last year. I mean, I think the last thing you wanted as a Canucks player was to have some hard driving, angry, spit and fire coach here at training camp, and Foote's gone entirely in a different direction.
Yeah, and I think I applaud that. What happened here last year can't be repeated. We know that. Most guys talk about wanting to turn the page, but I thought we heard some honesty yesterday. First time we've heard from Thatcher Demko since last season, and he was one of the guys that sort of pushed back last year that things were a problem in that locker room, but yesterday copped to it and basically just said that there were things that we just simply couldn't overcome. Elias Pettersson talked about some of that a little bit yesterday as well. So as much as they want to turn the page, it's not as simple as sweeping last year under the rug. I mean, they have to take some learnings from it, and I've said with you guys before, like I do think that this team's leaning into good vibes, and we'll see how far good vibes can take them, but we know last year the vibes were not right in a lot of ways and for much of the season, and so the old coach isn't here. It's a new guy in charge with some new faces and some other new voices, and we'll see how it plays out. Not giving out letter grades after one day of training camp, but they'll continue to chip away here and get ready for the first preseason game on Sunday night.
Catch us up on what's happening there today, Jeff. Day 2 of Canucks Camp.
More of the same. No switches from any of the groups. Foote had mentioned yesterday that they were tinkering with the idea of moving a couple of players around, but certainly with the first group of the day that's on the ice, which is Group B, and that includes Quinn Hughes and Evander Kane and some other notables. It's the same group that skated as a group yesterday. So, I think today is just going to be more about ramping it up. They're going to give the players a little bit more. There was a lot of work yesterday done on defensive zone coverage and breakouts and trying to get that defenseman into the rush to make it a four-man wave, essentially. It's a practice session. This is where I come back to this idea of people that want to know about standouts. Really, training camp just looks like a lot of hockey practices.
Fair enough.
There's some nice goals scored, sure, but this wasn't about end-to-end, guys going through an entire team. There was no scrimmage action at all. The one camp scrimmage is set for noon on Saturday. So really, this is just a new coach trying to get through to his group of players and instill a lot of the beliefs that he has for them and the way that he wants them to play all year.
Did it say something to you, Jeff, that he had activation of the defense as part of the day one program? Like, is that a tell there? What did you read out of that?
Yeah, like Rick Tocchet wanted that from his defensemen as well, but outside of Quinn Hughes, for a lot of the last few years, they just haven't had the necessary personnel. This is going to be the first time, if everybody stays healthy, that Quinn Hughes is going to have Marcus Patterson in the lineup with him together to form a pretty solid 1-2 punch over on the left side. And then, of course, you got Phil Hronek and Tyler Myers. For me, the first day at camp is the interesting parts are the way players are rolled out, in what sort of deployment and configurations, and to see the top four skating as the two pairs that they will start the season with. They're leaving nothing to chance there. They're allowing those guys to form some chemistry from day one of training camp. And then the experimentation comes a little bit deeper in the lineup. Like, there were some eyebrows raised when Tom Willander got the first chance to skate with Derek Forbort. And, do we read into that? Hey, Willander has leapt ahead of the other guys here. What I think is happening, and I haven't had this confirmed by anybody in the organization, but my sense is that there's a little bit of tough love here for D-Petey, that this organization loves this guy. And they have high hopes, and he's going to be a big part of this season and for many more. But I think they don't want him falling into any sort of sophomore trap that, hey, I've made it, easy street now. And I think that's part of why they sent him to Seattle, is the Prospects games last weekend. And here he is starting training camp. He's paired with Parker Alkos. And I think it's that carrot that, hey, if you want to be the guy that's playing with Forbort and that's the third pair on opening night, then continue to show everything that you showed last year and just find a way to raise it up a notch. So,
do you think that's a reaction to the way he arrived, or do you think that was just the plan anyhow?
Yeah, my sense is that they're still delighted with this guy and that he hasn't done anything to fall out of favor in any way whatsoever. I think this is maybe Adam Foote recognizing that there's a little bit of Adam Foote in D-Petey and just the way they approach the game and the physical nature and everything else. And I think it's that they just don't want him falling into any kind of comfort zone whatsoever. And I don't necessarily, I don't mind that. Like, this isn't mind games. It is just, again, letting a player recognize that he hasn't quite made it yet. that there are still levels that he has to get to, and so that sort of seems like the way that they're handling him.
And we should mention, if you don't know the name, Parker Alcos, right shot defenseman from Port Moody, was a 6th-round pick in 2024, and doesn't score a whole lot with the Edmonton Oil Kings, so that's not exactly prime real estate for a training camp pair.
Jeff, you talked about the lack of spectacular plays here in the early going because of the nature of the drills and that sort of thing. That's sort of part of the impetus for our poll question here, is that it's going to be hard for people to get intel on exactly where Elias Pettersson's bounce back season is at without a balance, a body of work from which to work with. So when is it going to hit home? What needs to happen for you to really believe that this is a different Elias Pettersson? Is it a preseason game? Is it a regular season game? Is it a larger body of work, a quarter of a season before you're going to be convinced that this is a different EP40?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be sooner than a quarter of the season, just because the start of this year is important with a new head coach, with the fact that they want to get back to the playoffs. You don't want to fall behind the 8 ball. We've seen that happen as recently with Bruce Boudreau, and it's just too hard a league to constantly play catch-up. So they got to find a way to get out of the gate reasonably well. Only 2 of their first 8 games are on home ice, and that's going to present some challenges as well. So, look, I'm looking for some flashes. I watched EP40 pretty closely here on the first day of camp. Getting around the ice, so wasn't laboring in any way, and that certainly puts him in a better place than he was 12 months ago. But, I think starting in the scrimmage, and I don't know if he'll be part of the traveling crew to Seattle for Sunday night, but he's going to get into early preseason action. I just need to see some flashes. I need to see some things that show me that there's a confidence, whether it's stick handling, beating guys one-on-one, whether it's the big shot, like some of those things that made him the player that he was when he got to 102 points. We're not writing the book on EP40 season in the preseason, but I do need to see a few moments here and there that just leave you tantalized and wanting to see a little bit more.
I don't even need bottom line. I don't even need for those chances to go in, Jeff. Just the confidence to pull them off, to me, is probably going to be enough, right?
Yeah, I think that's how you kind of judge him, is that use preseason to experiment a little bit. They've put him in a position to succeed. They've given him Jake DeBrusk, Brock Boeser, 2 guys that he's familiar with. I would think they would roll into the preseason. It was kind of funny yesterday. Adam Foote was asked a whole bunch of questions about his deployment, and his answer seemed to be, well, if it works. So, he's got things in mind. I think he's had a summer here of devising line combinations and defensive pairings and hoping that they're going to stick and allow this team to have success. But there have to be some contingencies. No coach in the history of hockey has stuck with the same line combinations over the course of a season, so there will be some mixing and matching. But I think it makes perfect sense when you've got a star player in Patterson who has to find his game again. Give him 2 of your best offensive weapons in Boeser and DeBrusk, 2 guys that he has played with, 2 guys that he's had some success with, and let them form some chemistry from the first day of training camp. And that seems to be the rollout of their plan here right now.
If there's one thing we can point to with Adam Foote, Jeff, and as we know, it's a thin book on this rookie head coach in his first National Hockey League head coaching job, it's the fantastic work that he did with the penalty kill unit last season, all the way up to 3rd in the National Hockey League from 17th. And we remember even the seasons before, Jeff, just how bereft they were in this unit. We know that Pius Suter, their primary penalty killer, is now in St. Louis. In fact, 3 of their top 6 penalty killing forwards are no longer with the team, if you count JT Miller and Danton Heinen, who were traded in season. So that leaves Bluger, that leaves Sherwood, Drew O'Connor. Connor Garland started doing some of it. I was most interested to hear Foote talk about Boeser as a penalty killer yesterday and give him such a vote of confidence that he thinks this is an area of the game where Brock can excel.
Yeah, likewise. I asked that question. I just, first of all, wanted to find out if they were going to work on special teams here in Penticton. He said maybe on Sunday, but I don't think we'll see anything here over the next couple of days. And then I said, do you anticipate any changes? Anybody you're considering that maybe you haven't in the past? And yeah, he name-checked Boeser right away, and then went into talking about what a smart player he is and big body. Look, Brock has worked his way to a point where he's been out as a staple in late game situations protecting leads. That is generally 5-on-6. 4-on-5 is a little bit different here, but Brocky's a smart player. There's no question. I didn't know if I'd see the day where Brock Boeser killed penalties in the National Hockey League, and that day could come as early as Sunday if he's in the preseason lineup. So things do move quickly here, but I'm like you. I mean, that certainly caught my attention with that answer, and you rolled through the guys that I think would be ahead of Brock Boeser, but coaches generally like to have 3 sets of forward groups, so could Brock Boeser? He was cautious when he said we have to monitor his minutes. He's going to be a power play guy. They don't want to overload Brock Boeser, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like Brock Boeser is going to be in the consideration. Certainly, Foote also mentioned some of the young guys. We've heard that before. It sounds good, but how many years did we go through? Vasily Podkolzin should be developed into a penalty killer, and he never got a sniff at the NHL level. So one thing to say it on the opening day of training camp, another to actually put it in action, and let's see which young guys make the hockey club and are available to him to be a penalty killer.
I do have faith in Ratu, though. I think Ratu is going to be an excellent penalty killer.
Good reach and all that. You don't need speed, right? Like Pius Suter is a fabulous penalty killer. He's not a fast guy. Besser could be okay. Right? It's the wiliness sometimes of the penalty kill, and who knows. Matt was talking about the activation of the defense. They seem to have brought that to the goalies as well. Goalies fetching the puck behind the goal and making breakout passes to the half wall to the defenseman. I mean, that could be situational, but and it's not like the Canucks never did that. But you wonder if that becomes more of a bottom line rule for the Canucks.
Yeah, I think we learned last year that Kevin Lankinen did a nice job. Rick Tocchet talked about it all the time, but how quickly Lankinen was able to get out of the net to stop hard rims around, and then from there try to move the puck to his defenseman. Thatcher Demko has suitable skills to be a puck handler as well. We should mention that Kevin Lankinen is on baby alert here and could leave camp at any moment. Demko let that cat out of the bag yesterday, so Demko himself becoming a father for the second time over the summer and said that Lankinen was picking his brain about fatherhood. So those two have been in Vancouver working together since August and kind of traveling the same path as young parents or parents to be here. So
and just retreating to Vancouver, or retreating where, to Europe or what?
No, I think just getting back to Vancouver.
Okay.
That was my understanding of the situation, but Lankinen was here on the ice this morning, so hasn't got that phone call just yet, but I do wonder if he'll be available for the scrimmage on Saturday. Probably takes him out of the running to be a goaltending option for the first preseason game on Sunday down at Climate Pledge Arena, but storyline to monitor, but should be a good news story for Kevin Lankinen and his growing family. Other than that, I think they're trying to get the goaltenders involved here through the drills, and if that's another way that they can do it, then it may just be as simple as that, get them some touches of the puck. It is an interesting, and I asked Patrick Alvin at the press conference on Wednesday about beneath the NHL level. Like, Yuri Patera is certainly the forgotten man, right? Played 7 games in Abbotsford last year and then got hurt and wasn't available, but he's here, he's under contract, and so where does he slot in? Obviously Nikita Tolopilo, and they are so high on Ty Young as well. Do they run with 3 goaltenders out in Abbotsford? I mean, that rarely works with 2 nets for practice. But I am curious to see what their plan is beneath the NHL level and who would be the first guy to get the call if something were to happen to either Demko or Lankinen.
I think you've pretty much covered what's ahead this weekend, Jeff, with the scrimmage and the preseason game, but please do fill me in if we've missed anything that's to come here today or tomorrow. And also wanted to give you the opportunity. RinkWide Vancouver is back. We've already got an episode with you and Irf. Tell them what you got planned here on RinkWide.
Yeah, well, scrimmage Saturday, it's going to be interesting. This is the $40 ticket that the Canucks were asking people to pay for. I am curious to see on a sunny Saturday afternoon, and who knows how many more there will be here in the Okanagan. Will people come indoors to watch the Vancouver Canucks scrimmage at that price point? So that's one of the things I'm going to be monitoring, but obviously attention will be on the ice, and I would assume it's as simple as Group A against Group B unless they find some way to tinker with their rosters and their lineups. And then Sunday, I was asking around here yesterday because I thought it might be as simple as the game group would have a quick morning skate here and then fly to Seattle, but apparently that's not the way the Canucks are going to roll things out on Sunday, but they will have a group of hand-chosen guys that are going to represent the Canucks for the first preseason game against the Seattle Kraken and the rest of the group will skate and then head for Vancouver. And then the second part of training camp, the preseason portion, will commence on Monday with practices at Rogers Arena, and away they go. So there'll be lots to chew on here over the weekend, and by Monday's show, there will actually be a National Hockey League game with Vancouver Canuck players and hopefuls suiting up, and the storylines will flow from there. And yes, RinkWide, I can tell you that we're going to do the final 2 preseason games of the exhibition schedule to get a little dust off and rust off, and just make sure that we've got our I's dotted and T's crossed, and then we'll be ready to roll on October the 9th for the first of 82 regular season games. And, of course, last year we had some fun with the American Hockey League run to the Calder Cup Championship. We'll see what this season brings and how it unfolds for the Vancouver Canucks. We won't worry about April and May and June at this stage right now. But, yeah, RinkWide's back. Irf's going to be my wingman for about 60 of the games, and then usual cast of characters will fill in and pinch hit when he is unavailable. So really excited about it, looking forward to it. And there's so many uncertainties around this season that I think the storylines will be plentiful, and we'll start tracking them on RinkWide for the final 2 preseason games, and then October 9th against Calgary when the curtain comes up and they start playing for keeps.
Calgary Edmonton as your preseason games, and then Calgary Edmonton to start. So you'll be very familiar with those 2 teams.
Yeah, and Jeff and Irf have already published the first episode, RinkWide Vancouver, in season 25-26. Marvelous stuff, my friend. Thank you for this. We'll catch up on Monday.
All right, sounds good. Have a great weekend.
If you are struggling with things like managing stress, anxiety, relationships, or divorce, reach out to the counselors at Advanced Counseling. Book your free initial consultation today at advancedcounseling.ca.
So, Garrison Price back here at Yellow Dog, of course, typically in the historic Wall Center. Rob Williams standing by. Going to talk to him in a second. First, the Daily Face-Off. They got your back with the DFO Fantasy Draft Kit, a one-stop shop for everything you need to build that perfect fantasy hockey team. We're talking updated line combos, player projections, power play units, sleepers, busts, team previews. It's all there, one stop. It's got everything you need to dominate your league. dailyfaceoff.com/draft-kit. Fantasy hockey domination starts at dailyfaceoff.com. And Rob Williams, the national sports editor of the Daily Hive, and its Offside Sports Vertical. And I was absolutely stunned, Robert, to hear this is your first time in Penticton for a Canucks event. All those youngsters, all those training camps, and this is your debut visit here to the city. How are you?
I'm doing great, yeah. I'm not a prospects guy. I bug some of the prospects guys sometimes and go, like, think about how much of your life you wasted dissecting Jordan Subban, Aidan McDonough, Cole Castles.
You deal with real things.
Cole Castles, if you're not familiar, Andrew's kid, he was going to be the McDavid stopper. Right. You remember that? That OHL playoff series way back when?
He still might be. Yeah, like that might be the story.
I haven't tried it yet.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts and first impressions here of Penticton and the way they do a big Canucks event?
Yeah, it's spectacular. I mean, love the Okanagan. What a great time of year to be here. I feel like this time of year is when it's starting to become fall a little bit in Vancouver, and it's still summer here.
Yeah,
I feel like they get a little bit more summer than Vancouver. So
it was 25 degrees when we pulled in at 7 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
So
there's Canucks players walking around town. Just saw Pierre-Olivier Joseph and Linus Karlsson walking to the rink on the way here. So, it's a fun event. And obviously, the South Okanagan Event Center is a beautiful rink.
The players do let their guard down a little bit here.
Yep,
like they'll mosey through the restaurants. Like they're not hunkered down like, oh, we're the Canucks, we're going to get swamped. Because I guess that's it. They don't feel like they're going to get swamped here because there's not a huge population base, like they just go out about town. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, no, it's a great vibe here, and everyone is incredibly respectful when they encounter Canucks people.
Yeah.
Here in the streets, as you say, in the restaurants, on the golf courses, they're there too. Elias Pettersson, we talked about it earlier in the show, but Elias expanding on his revenge comments. That was your big takeaway, from day one availability?
Yeah, and somewhat. I think the biggest one for me was just the way that Adam Foote talked about Elias Pettersson. I mean, he's raving about his practice yesterday. He said it was better practice, as good or a better practice than he'd had all of last season. And I know it's like we talk about practice here. like I know we were just talking about practice, but given all of the criticisms that Patterson faced last season from his own coach, from his own management, I think that's a really notable takeaway. Patterson, I mean, he's not completely. It's not like he's a completely brand new guy talking to the media. Like, you know, he's still a little bit short in times and whatnot. But there were some elements there where he was talking about how he let things bother him too much in the past, and he's trying to be better at that going forward. And spoke about how he felt stronger and felt great on the ice out there.
You need to get to the finish line of the season to truly know. So we know that, but to get convinced inside that, okay, it is going to be different this year, what is that going to take for you? A good performance in preseason game number one, a good performance in regular season game number one, or do you need the larger sample size of 20 games of good performance before you're convinced?
Yeah, I think everything's going to be under the microscope for him.
Yeah.
I mean, if he has a lackluster preseason, I think people are going to be anxious about it.
Make a leap, yeah.
If he scores a couple beauties in preseason, I think people are going to be feeling a little better about it. Ultimately, preseason's not going to matter. It's what the regular season, whatever happens in the regular season, that's what's going to matter. Those first 10 games are massive, I think, for the team, but I think they're massive for Patterson in particular. Like, he can't go 10 games without a goal to start the season.
Okay, so
that's going to be a real problem.
He had multi-point games. Like, he had statistically good games last year. How many good games just in your belly do you think he had last year?
Oh.
Like, did he?
Yeah.
I guess my question is, did he? Did he
Yeah.
have a game where he was a superstar National Hockey League player?
None stand out to me.
No.
I mean, I just feel like we were talking about him screening the goalie and back checking.
We had lowered the bar a little, hadn't we? Yes.
We were, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, there was just not that magic was not there.
So that brings me to, again, say, like, if he looks scintillating, even in a preseason game, I think that
Or
should.
a practice?
Not a practice.
Not a practice.
I think you
It's
need
gotta be a
opposition.
preseason game?
But even a
Not a
preseason
game.
game, but certainly game number one. Like, if he looks scintillating in anything in the first three games, I think that goes a long way, because I don't think we saw scintillating last year.
No. Yeah. I think that guy is going to return. If I had to put money on it, one way or the other, I'm putting money on Patterson having a big year.
Yeah.
I think he's everything we've seen is he's motivated. He is really upset with how things went last season. He does not want a repeat of that by any means. And it sounds like he has a really good relationship with Adam Foote. Obviously, didn't quite see eye to eye with Rick Tocchet in the past. So I think that those are things that they're all trending in the right direction for him. I'm going to be really interested to see when they're going to be doing special teams on Sunday for the first time. What kind of looks are we going to see with Patterson on the power play? Because of course it was JT. Everything went through JT and Quinn, and now things are gonna Patterson can't just be the guy waiting there with a stick in the air for the one timer. Like, that hasn't really worked. Even when they had the Miller on the left side, I don't think they can just divert to that for Patterson. I think he's got to have the puck in his hands a lot more in the power play, and I'm really interested to see what they're going to be doing for that.
That's fair, but I still do want to complain about him shooting too much on the power play. Like, I want that to be a thing. Like, Petey's got to, the one-timer, if only we were complaining about that happening too much. Like, that, it was non-existent. So I want to get to the point where I'm complaining that he's shooting too much.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
It's typical media. You'll criticize him one way. I also want to know if he's going to be killing penalties, because, we've talked about this, the good penalty killers they lost up front. Pius Suter, most notably. We heard that Brock Boeser is going to kill some penalties. Get back to that in a second. But, you mentioned the approach that Foote has taken with Patterson, which is, of course, basically the counter to what Rick Tocchet had taken with him. I first of all, to me, that's another tell on Adam Foote. I think that's really smart. We talked about this at his introductory press conference, where he had that great line about it's up to all of us to support Petey. And I've also noticed that seems to extend to other players, like the way he was talking about Brock and his high hockey IQ. I'm not sure Foote would say it because Tocchet is his buddy, but it sounds to me like there was an analytical bit of thinking done by this new head coach and went, okay, my predecessor beat these guys down pretty good towards the end. I'm going to try and catch more flies with honey here than vinegar.
Yeah, and it sounds like Connor Garland moving to the PK last year was an Adam Foote call. Like he requested that. So getting Garland onto the PK. So
of course he ran the PK last year.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I mean, one for one, I guess there, right? Like, and will it work with Brock? I agree. He's not the quickest guy. He doesn't really have the profile of someone that you would expect to be a great penalty killer, but he is smart, and I think that's something that Boeser will, I think, probably really take ownership on, right? Like he's been a guy that always is like, okay, now it's time for the PK, and he sits down for 2 minutes. I think he'll probably embrace something like that where he can help the team in another way. It's not just goals and assists.
It's going to be a bit of a journey to see how different these two coaches are, to see how much carries over from Tocchet and how much he wants to go his own way. Like in special teams, in systemic play, like it'll be interesting to see if he goes out of his way to differentiate or is okay admitting this worked, we're going to continue to do this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, getting back to Petey now, like Tocchet kind of, it wasn't like Tocchet didn't have open dialogue and he didn't want to communicate. Like he was a wonderful communicator, and he often expressed frustration that Petey wouldn't kind of engage with him. Exactly. And it's one of these things where I think you're seeing like, okay, Tocchet wanted that back and forth with Petey, and Petey didn't give it to him. But maybe it's just for whatever reason he didn't feel comfortable with Tocchet. Maybe he feels comfortable with Foote. Sounds like it. Like Patterson said that he had one-on-one conversations with him last year, and even kind of jokes like, what's the difference between him now and last season? He just said he talks more now. So he kind of, I felt like we're going on vibes here a lot, right?
For sure we are, but
I was curious as to what he would look like controlling the rink, controlling the room, and he seems to have a pretty good way with that,
Yeah, I mean, I did think it was interesting that assistant coach Brett McLean seemed to be the guy with the whistle and was kind of like running the team through the paces mostly, and I was kind of like, oh, where's, you kind of had to say like, oh, where's Foote here? So that was interesting. It wasn't like I go back to some other training camps when Travis Green was running things and they had the bag skate, and I remember distinctly one training camp where he was dropping an F-bomb at Goldie, and he's like, like F Goldie, come on. There was none of that, right? Like it was a lot calmer, and so yeah, we didn't see, like, I was, you're always kind of curious when you get a different coach, like how are they going to run things on day one of training camp, and this was a more chill first day, I would say.
And of course, Travis Green got Dylan Cousins this year in his back skate. We saw that earlier. No, I get more and more impressed with Adam Foote the more I hear from him. Including, and we played the clip earlier, but the piece about Philip Heedle and keeping Philip Heedle healthy, where he talked about, we've analyzed what he's doing through the neutral zone and seeing if there are any patterns and tendencies that have allowed him to be susceptible to those really big hits. We've all talked about how important Philip Heedle is to this team, Rob. Like, on your list of X factors for the Canucks this year, I think he ranks pretty high, but that they're digging in that deep, like they understand the issue and they're digging in that deep, tells me, boy, this Foote guy sounds like he's pretty detailed.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be so interesting because there's just not that track record. The only positives we have to go on are what Canucks players have said about him, and it does sound
and
like
the
they
PK in defense over the last couple of years. I mean, he has had a review there, so
yeah, that's fair. I guess just in terms of like looking at like running a team, because he just hasn't done it very much, and yeah, so it's going to be very, very interesting, because I think a lot of people just assumed the Adam Foote hire was a move to just continue on the same path, and that he probably views things philosophically identical or nearly identical to Tocchet. And we're starting to see like how is he going to put his imprint,
his own voice
on the team.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what you guys made of the. Well, I do know. I listened to you guys talk about this on the show. I am a regular listener as well.
I would hope.
Thank you, Robert.
But when Foote was talking about how they were going to be adaptable and like that was like the way they were going to play, I didn't love that answer because
Here we go.
I kind of worry about like, okay, like, you're switching things up and like, yeah, you got to adapt, but that being like the way we're going to play, I think you do need to have an identity. And I took that to mean like, this is the way he's going to play, like defensively. Like you'd have to have a way, like you're going to have systems and ways of
you
playing.
You have to be malleable.
Fair enough.
So I do wonder
enough.
how much to take that like exactly as you said.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's open to interpretation.
I mean, I think you might argue that the defensive side will fuel the offense. We saw him working on rush chances and activating the defense yesterday, so that project continues, albeit I think with a much better, more equipped defense core to play that way compared to a year ago with Rick Tocchet. And yeah, I mean, so much of Adam Foote is new to us. We're learning him. The players know him to a degree, but this is Adam Foote's first turn as an NHL head coach, and I think it's naive. It would be naive to assume that he's going to get everything right the first time. He's going to have to grow into the role as well. I just can't get over how happy they all are, Rob, that last season is in the rearview mirror. Like Elias talking about it, Thatcher Demko just sounds like he is, surrounded by rainbows and butterflies. He's just joyous.
I'm just glad that Demko can't like chase a hit, because right now it feels like he'd be chasing hits all over the ice because he wants to prove something. A goalie thankfully can stay put.
But you've been down at the rink and you've talked to a number of the particulars. The vibe here seems tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, guys, forget the players. Like last April, I couldn't wait for the season to end.
Yeah, I mean, we all could.
like imagine being like right in the thick of that. Like, of course they were thrilled to have that behind them and be excited about a new season.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we were talking about August optimism and September optimism. I think I predicted a Stanley Cup victory at one point in the some wild days in August.
Crazy,
but. I think that's the way I think of hockey, right? Where you come into a new season and you've had all the summer and you get a chance to kind of put the bad vibes behind you and get excited about a new season.
You're not thinking Stanley Cup
I was going to say,
right?
we're Canucks Stanley Cup champions 2026, Rob. What do you think?
I can see Mike ready to clip it right there.
Yeah, Mike's getting his timestamp. Oh, listen to this.
I'm not predicting that. I think they return to the playoffs. So
okay.
I do think this is a playoff team. I think enough things are going to go right for them this season. I think Paterson's going to be a lot better. I think it sounds like Demko's healthy. I think they're going to be strong in goal and on defense. They'll have to get by somehow on forward, but I think that they've got enough pieces to probably be a wild card team in the Western Conference.
Wouldn't it be nice if they were just a hockey team for a couple of months? Like there wasn't anything else really for us to. I don't think that's going to happen because Quinn Hughes
thing is
other things perhaps as well, but. As
like
close
every 3-game losing streak is going to be greeted with Hughes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But
if you don't have one of those, then
well, there you go. There you go. And I think they are doing a nice job of counterbalancing it with the attitude and the spirit that we've seen thus far. Well, we're going to release you into the Penticton afternoon here, Rob. It is an absolutely gorgeous place on a day like it's bell weather. I know you got to go to the rink.
I was going to say I'm going to go put on my jacket and go into the
arena.
To an ice rink. But yeah.
Okay, well, we'll have some fun a little later on, as we did last night here at Yellow Dog. Thanks for stopping by, bud.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Secure some price from Yellow Dog Brewing here in beautiful Penticton, British Columbia. Typically, of course, at the Wall Center, and game night, make it a game weekend. Turn that ticket into a downtown getaway with a Securison Price exclusive rate. Call 604-331-1000. Tell them we sent you. Some blackout dates apply based on availability. Whitecaps, where there was good news from training on 3 fronts yesterday, but more importantly, it's official. We are getting our Vancouver derby in the Canadian Championship final. Vancouver FC loses 1-0 at Atletico Ottawa last night, but they advance on the aggregate, setting up a match with Big Brother at BC Place on October 1st. Love the David and Goliath elements of this story. And the local angle, of course.
This is David versus Goliath. If David has literally never stepped foot in the gym, that's what that's what this might look like.
If you don't, Vancouver FC, like, this was a miracle run for them. I mean, it's not too dissimilar than the Caps run in CONCACAF earlier this year, right? Where there were zero expectations.
But they were a first-place team at MLS, at least. This is a last-place team.
Well, no, but they
in the
weren't
CPL.
back then in the CONCACAF Champions League. We're like, what is this Whitecaps team? And then they started beating all these sides. Vancouver FC has won just 2 of 23 CPL matches all season long. They saved their best for the Canadian Championship tournament. And Blake, I saw fans online and social media last night. We need a catchy name for this derby. You were very good on headlines and things like that, so I want to give you a task here before October 1st.
Okay, I'll come up with something.
Come up with a catchy name for the Vancouver derby, like El Trafico and LAFC plays LA Galaxy.
Okay, all right.
I need something like that.
Okay.
To hang our hats on.
I will work on that. We should mention that Marty Nash is well aware of the task at hand. He joked after the win, we might have to try to figure out a way to get an extra player out there versus Whitecaps. Here's the thing and people can just go on socials and on Twitter and see what I sketched out. Based on the Blackman injury, and they want to win the trophy. Let's not make two bones about it. And I think Thomas Muller will play in the match. But I would start with a very, very benchy starting 11. Let the starting 11 take you through an hour of action. Priso, Badwall. You can get Cabrera on the starting line because he hasn't played a whole lot. Have Rayon Alumi play on the right side. Rios up top. Stay healthy. That's probably all that will be required to get the trophy. Is that taking VFC lightly? It is, strategically. Like you do have to recognize that this is the easiest of the trophies to win, and you don't survive to win the bigger trophy unless you're healthy enough. Which can get into our training camp news, or training news from yesterday, which is that Brian White is good to go next week, they say.
He was on the pitch working on his own. Asa Raymond, who calls the games for CKNW on radio, said Ryan Gault on fire in the attacking drill, looked as good as he has ever looked this season at the very least.
And that's great, but he is going to be allowed to steep and ferment for at least another month. He will get into the last 2 games, maybe.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. He's more hopeful than that.
No, he is weeks away.
Okay.
But Brian White, Jesper's already said next week he's playing in one of the 2 games next week.
Yep. Busy schedule here too for the Caps with some midweek games, and the third prong of good news, Jodrik Pipa, full participant, and they need him because we've talked about the injuries at center back to Blackman and Veselinovic.
And I think it was Asa as well that's mentioned how large he is. And it's nice to have these statuesque defenders, right?
Center backs. Lions into Calgary tonight, where we have a battle of buddies. Nathan Rourke versus his friend and former backup Vernon Adams Jr., now the starting quarterback with the Calgary Stampeders. You'll remember just how classy Vernon Adams was when the Lions reacquired him, because they actually owned his rights way back when. A few seasons back when Nathan Rourke got hurt, he consistently referred to it as Nathan's team, that he was in a supporting role, there to be the quarterback till Nathan was healthy. Mm-hmm. There was no rivalry. There was no controversy. There was only 2 professionals behaving as great teammates. And then there was last year where Rourke returned from the National Football League and really unsettled the locker room. There were many who considered that Vernon Adams' team, and that it was hard for it to be Vernon Adams' team with the presence and specter of Nathan Rourke in that locker room. So
it was a record skip. It was.
Yep.
And it messed with the team. It had to.
And Adams was playing terrific football last year, as you recall, so much so that the Stampeders were delighted to acquire him late last season. Talked about it yesterday. Lions absolutely ravaged injury-wise, missing starting tailback James Butler, starting slot back Javon Catoy, both offensive tackles, and Gary Peters, their leader in the secondary. He's a game-time decision. Seahawks, home Sunday, face New Orleans at Lumen. Captain Greg Bell, our buddy, Zach Charbonnet, Nick Imanwari, Devin Witherspoon, Julian Love, all did not practice yesterday. I mean, this should be a victory for the Seahawks, but, you know, as 12s will know, they've spit the bit against some bad teams at home over the years. I think of that New York Giants loss. I can think of that Washington loss from a few seasons back. So we'll see what they bring to the field. Mike McDonald, though, yesterday, the head coach, saying the new injuries aren't crazy, his word. So sounds like
maybe today
you will
they're back
have
on
some
the
participants
field.
there.
Yeah.
I don't suspect they'll be missing all of those guys. Jays shutout in Tampa, split the series with the Rays. M's shutout Kansas City, thanks to 6 innings of 3-hit ball from starter Luis Castillo. Yankees win again, so they're now just 3 back of the Jays in the AL East.
Jays can't hit. Jays can't hit right now. It's getting concerning.
Yeah, and Bassett was a little too hittable yesterday. Seattle tied with the Astros atop the American League West. They start a huge 3-game set in Houston tonight. They're calling it one of the biggest series in M's franchise history. Of course, they have not won the division since 2001. Absolutely scintillating pitching matchup tonight. Brian Wu versus Hunter Brown for the Astros, 2 of the best starters in the American League. Jay's hoping to get Bo Bichette and Anthony Santander back. We haven't talked a lot about Santander. He was
terrible when he was there.
He was terrible, and then he was missing forever. Santander is on a rehab assignment with AAA Buffalo. He played some left field yesterday, did not get a ball hit his way. He also hit a home run and then engaged in the slowest home run trot I think I have ever seen in my life. I'm not sure what he was trying to accomplish. I mean, it's certainly not that's a physical limitation.
Did you see the viral video from a year ago, the Little League kid, this 5-year-old that was coming home and put himself into slow-mo?
He looked like that.
He looked like that kid.
It took him 41 seconds to round the bases.
Yeah.
Like, the players on the opposition, you can see, were giving him squirrely looks like, what the hell is going on here? And he's a switch hitter, and that's the other thing is they think he's going to be fine to hit left-handed, but the injury may prevent him or at least hurt him if he steps into the right-handed side of the batter's box. Max Scherzer tonight for the Jays, Shane Bieber tomorrow, Trey Savage on Sunday. It wasn't long ago, of course, that Savage was pitching at the Nat to great fanfare. Catch future Jays next season by becoming a Vancouver Canadian season member. Call 604-872-5232 or visit CanadiansBaseball.com. Canada's women's rugby team in our midst right now playing for a spot in the World Cup final. They're up against New Zealand. They're ranked number 2. They have been dominant in this tournament. The other side, New Zealand, ranked number 3. And the Black Ferns have won 5 of the last 6 World Cups, Blake. So this is a pedigreed program from a pedigreed rugby nation. They're facing 4 British Columbians on this team for Canada. If they win, they play either England or France for all the marbles next Saturday at the Alliance Stadium, Twickenham in London, the home of English rugby. Pretty heady stuff there.
Yeah, they've had a great run.
And, of course, no matter the result today, they will play for a medal. There is a bronze medal game. And as we mentioned with Mike Cogill earlier of Yellow Dog, a historic day for a historic franchise. The Penticton V's take their first foray into the WHL tonight, the season opener at the Save On Foods Memorial Arena in Victoria. They'll face the Royals. They're in Langley tomorrow to face the Vancouver Giants. their home opener against the geographic rival Kelowna Rockets just up the road a week from today at the South Okanagan Event Center. I say historic, Blake, because, of course, what the Penticton Vs were able to do in the BCHL over the last decade plus was just ungodly. They were the best franchise by a country mile. And for those of you who are familiar with your hockey history, and, of course, this is the home of the BC Hockey Hall of Fame at the South Okanagan Event Center. It's an incredible display. If you ever get a chance, go through there. There is some awesome memorabilia, also all sorts of photo opportunities. And right downtown here, right adjacent to the rink, you have the huge commemorative sculpture in the roundabout of the 1955 world champion Penticton Vs. I was telling Mike that Trail and Penticton take great pride.
Yes,
in
they
their
should.
Men's
They
senior,
sent world champions.
Their men's senior teams of a bygone era who went off and captured gold medals for Canada.
Well, we said we've said for so long that this organization, for as well run as it is, and for the quality of building that they play in, was really at worst a tweener team or a true major junior team. And so they are probably in their rightful place here because they were just lights out at the junior A level.
Well, and the rink stands up against any WHL
Absolutely it does.
Well, of that there is no doubt. Results of our Redwoods Golf Course poll question from Thursday. We asked you who is best suited to play with Elias Pettersson and Brock Boeser. The options were Jake DeBrusk and Evander Kane. Winner?
New shiny toy. I'm going to say Kane.
Attaboy. Percentage?
61.
55. Chevy, who's going to retrieve the puck? It's a good question. It's one that Adam Foote and the staff is going to have to figure out
On
for
the
both of those top two lines.
stiffer, heavier teams, maybe it's Kane.
Yep.
And for like non-conference
Hey.
games where you're skating more, maybe it's DeBrusk.
We're an adaptive team. That's our identity.
There you go.
We're going to adapt to the opponents night in, night out.
Yep.
David says, I'm going Kane. He's better at puck possession, which will give EP more time to get in key possessions. And then our buddy Basketball Phil. Jake, go with Kane on a line with Heedle. Might offer some extra protection for someone who has been a bit injury-prone in his career. Errors and omissions, I have at least one. We had EPD on the wrong pairing yesterday. He's with Parker Alcos, as we discussed with Jeff, who is not going to make this hockey team.
Parker Alcos will not.
No. EPD will. Parker Alcos will not.
Well, yeah, I mean, EPD's got to put the work in, but he's got an inside track for sure.
He will. Have no fear.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Appreciate you spending some time and connecting with the program. Please do subscribe to all our assorted channels, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow on social, X, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, live on many of those platforms, noon Pacific time weekdays. And, of course, support the community sponsors you hear us talking about, like Yellow Dog. And thank you to Mike and John and Gil and Laura and Sydney, everybody here who have served as such fantastic hosts for us yet again. Love my Septembers in Penticton.
Don't miss Dogtoberfest.
Dogtoberfest, the new promotion here at Yellow Dog, and, of course, the Port Moody location.
That's right.
As well. Keep it local.